After a fantastic race yesterday in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup, we are looking forward to not only another great race today, but also for the qualifying session coming up now for today's race. It's going to be just 10 minutes long. It's a real frantic harem-scarum 10-minute blast, and the cars have made their way to the fast lane of the pits, and we are looking forward to seeing who comes out on top on a circuit that at the moment, I think it's fair to say, is dry again. We did have some rain earlier this morning. Temperatures had dropped. It's been stiflingly hot the last couple of days, but it has dropped a little bit. But the temperatures are rising once more, and whether that's going to have the same effect on tyres, we will wait and see as the cars then make their way down to the far end of the pit lane. David Addison and John Watson trackside yesterday. Great race. It was won by Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer, chased by Dries Van Thor and Charles Weerts, up from 19th on the grid after a BOP change helped all of the BMWs that have been quite a lot looked at overnight, I'm sure. And now for 10 minutes of qualifying, we'll see whether it's going to reflect yesterday's race pace or whether it's going to be a completely different order.
Well, first of all, the race yesterday was a real gloves-off battle between the Mercedes and BMW. But now it's a different day and different circumstances. But actually, in spite of that little rain shower we had about an hour ago, track and ambient temperatures are almost identical to that we saw yesterday morning, which went on to be a real screamer of a day in terms of an overall ambient temperature. So there we see the 007, the car that won the Spa 24-hour race, Matteo Drudi. I think it's Nicholas Bart behind the wheel for this session. So everybody preparing, and they will probably actually in reality find track conditions not a lot different from those that they would have left the track following their 1 hour sprint race yesterday afternoon, albeit in temperatures which were really off the scale. I know when I left the circuit to go back to the hotel, I saw 37 Celsius on the temperature gauge on the car. Now, whether that was just a spike or not, but it was plenty hot enough.
Very hot inside the cars. Tyre temperatures on Friday in the free practice period were nudging up to 118 degrees, I was being told by one of the teams. Now, there's the queue at the end of the pit lane. We talked about this yesterday, but it's worth making the point again. 10 minutes, therefore, not many laps. Therefore, you need clear track space. And also, you can't muck about with track limits. You've got to nail each lap.
One of the things you need to do also is not nail it on the pit lane exit. We know that one competitor nailed it and spun it into the barrier. So I think you have to be aware that even leaving the pit lane, you can get into trouble. There is the pit lane exit, waiting for the track to go green. So a little bit of caution required. Once you've exited the curve itself, then it's a straight run down into turn 2.
One thing we also had yesterday towards the end of the outlap were individual cars slowing right down in the stadium, letting the car ahead go and then accelerating, and that in turn giving them a bit of clear track space. But, of course, that does mean that the guy at the back of the queue has a very, very long outlap and probably misses out on the chance of a final flying lap, if you like, because he just runs out of time. So track positioning is critical, and therefore getting up to the end of the fast lane at the front of the queue, quite important here.
I think the key behind that particular ruling was that if you are going slowly, do not go slowly on the racing line.
Yeah.
Get off the racing line, but of course you get off the racing line, you get onto the dirty part of the racetrack. What we saw in the closing laps here in our 1 hour race on Saturday afternoon was Mauro Engel coming through turn 17. The car that had gone through ahead of him kicked up a load of dust and rubbish that got onto the exit of the racing line. And then all of a sudden, Mauro Engel, we saw him moving around coming up into turn 1, and he lost time on that following 2 or 3 corners, which is what allowed Dries Van Thor and the WRT BMW to close down that 1 second and put a challenge onto the Mercedes. I mean, the final couple of laps were, as I called it, gloves off motor racing. But both drivers thoroughly enjoyed it, in spite of one winning and one not winning. They were able to appreciate that both of them were, I call them gladiators rather than racing drivers.
Green flag, green light, session is live, and it is going to be Dries Van Thor then, who is first out in BMW number 32, ahead of Sam de Haan in the Silver Cup car that led the class yesterday, but lost out to the win because it was ultimately passed by the car that led the majority of the first part of the race, really. Alessio Dono and Tom Fleming back racing after his big shunt at Misano, and Tom Fleming battled his way back into the lead. They didn't win the race overall, although they had led up to the pit stops outright, but they did win the Silver Cup, and that was a really popular result yesterday.
There is the view down in turn 6, and you can see the offline. There's a lot of rubble on that offline, so a variety of entries into turn 6 and a variety of entries out of it. The main thing is if you're going to go in very tight, you are going to run wide, and therefore you're vulnerable to somebody making the undercut to come up along and inside. You're going into turn 7, which leads here into turn 8. And turn 7, turn 8 were the scene of a lot of the action between this car, 32 BMW, and the 48 Winwood Racing Mercedes-Benz.
So you can see drivers trying to get a bit of warmth into the tyres. It is still nice temperatures here. Temperature 24.3 degrees right now, but Dries van Thor working the Pirelli rubber, getting them up to operational temperature and getting the pressures up as well. That's Sam de Haan then in number 30. Same type of car, runs out of the same team, but runs in the Silver Cup. And then behind on track, you've got the Paul Everard, Gilles Magnus Audi that was second in the gold competition yesterday to Max Hofer and Luca Engschler. So here comes Dries van Thor up towards the timing line. This starts the first flying lap of the session.
And this looks like a committed lap from Dries van Thor. He has got faster sector times in all sectors as he starts his first flying lap. And he knows that the first flying lap, in theory, with the freshest set of Pirelli tyres that the team have chosen to give him, he may even have a brand new set, is that lap that should give him an opportunity to secure a provisional pole. Only 10 minutes long in this session, so he's got a clear air ahead of him. He needs to capitalise on that, because inevitably, as once all the field makes it onto the racetrack, it's compromise all through for anybody and everybody.
So he will go purple by dint of being the first man through each of the sectors. We've had 2 or 3 cars come into the pit lane at the end of the outlap, interestingly enough. So that will shuffle their track position a little bit, and possibly now, having had a look at the circuit, they'll put a brand new set of slicks on. There's one of those cars, which is the Reese Bar Magnus Gustafsson Mercedes. Irish driver Reese Bar at the wheel. In the background, look, you've got Giacomo Altway's Ferrari in. Here is Van Thor up to the end of the second sector. So Dries van Thor will offer up the target time. Qualifying yesterday, it was a 1:37.3 as that best lap, and there's traffic up the road, but this, John's, going to be an interesting comparison, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, again, what Van Thor is doing is precisely what I indicated. He's got to maximise every opportunity at the earliest point, so that's what he's done. He's got purple sectors, sector 1 and 2, runs way wide on the exit of turn 17, comes across start-finish line, naturally goes quickest overall, 1:37.939. That contrasts with the fastest sector, or fastest lap in qualifying for race 1, 1:37.3. So there's more time to be found, but of course he's now catching up to some of the cars that have come out behind him, and that in turn can start to show the compromise.
But we're down to 6 minutes already, and we've still got cars pitting for fresh boots. So really, they're giving themselves one run. So much of the importance of qualifying can't be overstated here. Again, the team's saying to me on Friday, we might run 2 sets during the session. We'll keep throwing tyres at it to try to get the best grid position. Well, that's all well and good, but the more sets of tyres you're going to throw at the car, the more time you spend in the pit lane, the fewer opportunities you have to get a lap.
I mean, 10 minutes is a blink of an eye in motor racing terms. There is the winner from yesterday, the 48 and filter Winwood Racing Mercedes-Benz. And Lucas Howard did a sterling job in getting that car onto the second row of the grid. Maro Engel, who took the car to the checkered flag yesterday behind the wheel. So Maro knows what he is going to be charged with, and that is to get that car up as near to the front as is possible. He's got a green sector in sector 1, which is understandable. He's only gone on to his first flying lap now. So he needs to get a couple of more purples. Right now, the next driver with the purple is Riccardo Fella in the 99 Audi. So he is in that first sector into the second sector. So Riccardo Fella, there you see on screen, potentially could be an Audi, a spike in maybe the BMW Mercedes, what could be potential front row of the grid.
And Audis have gone well here in the past, both in sprint and endurance races. Yesterday, the attempted car of Riccardo Fella hit problems and a couple of pit stops, retired from the race effectively. Into the pit lane then comes Maro Engel. So this car has done a time to be 6th, as now Riccardo Fella is set to go top. Luca Engschler has just gone top there in the Lamborghini, and that getting perilously close to the gravel as Riccardo Fella, leaving nothing on the table here.
Wonderful to see a driver as committed. Riccardo Fella literally flung that car as he came into the stadium. Now exits out of turn 17. Running behind one of the Lamborghinis is not going to come into play. Riccardo Fella technically should go quickest overall. 1:37.448. And that is a pretty impressive time And that 1:37.4, just about a tenth of a second away from the pole position from yesterday's qualifying.
So Riccardo Fella then goes top. Now that's the car that was fastest yesterday, courtesy of Alessio Dono. Today it is Tom Fleming doing the qualifying duties. He's 6th quickest, back in a race car after having to miss the Misano race weekend and not racing since. So he's not raced, of course, therefore, since Brands Hatch in terms of a proper weekend in the car. And yesterday took over in stint 2, got the lead of the Silver Cup again, won the class. This lap was good in sector 1. You can see it's down in sector 2. Green and purple good. Yellow means they've lost time. And Tom Fleming here, the very quick British driver, runner-up in the Ferrari Challenge Europe last year to Alessio Dono, his co-driver for this year, breaks the beam, 6th at the start of the lap, 3rd at the end of it. Good effort.
And this is a silver category car, so it's not in the race necessarily for overall results, but that's a good run for Tom Fleming. Again, the whole process of rebuilding, having been out of a car for the best part of 6 or 8 weeks almost, to get back behind the wheel. And I hope last night when he went back to his hotel, he had a proper physio there to give him, because he fractured 6 vertebrae in his spine, to make sure that he's in tip-top condition to get in behind the wheel. 8:30 this morning, bang, off, or beg your pardon, 9:45 here this morning. Get out, get the job done. There's no time to get in, drive yourself back in. Oh my, I've got a bit of a neck and a pain here. No, you've just got to get in, forget about it. And we know that adrenaline is the best cure for any pains or else. Wow.
That was 111 Audi, I think, of Lucas Legere. What was it John said a moment ago? Great to see a driver committed. Well, Lucas Legere very committed there. That's Jeff Machiels up behind him, the Belgian driver, son of Louis Machiels, that we see in the Endurance Cup. Sometimes races with his dad, but this weekend he's got Sean Hudspeth as his co-driver, and Jeff Machiels is 13th. He's coming up towards the timing line now. So let's see whether... Oh, he's now down to 14th. As others go quicker, can he respond? No, he can't, I'm afraid. It was Consul Lapalainen that demoted him by going up to 5th, Consul Lapalainen.
So Dries van Thor, who was initially the quickest overall, and he's out of... I'm just thinking he's been in the pits, but he's back out again. So he is 4th, Tom Fleming 3rd. Enslinger in the Lamborghini, 2nd Riccardo Fella, who is in the pits. So 37.448. Best time, Enslinger 6,000th of a second behind that. So there is the car that is currently 2nd quickest.
Yeah, Luca Engschler did go top until Riccardo Fella came along. So it is Fella, Engschler, Fleming, Van Thor, Lapalainen, Drudy, Gamble, Niederhauser, Engel, Everard. So Engel, winner yesterday, is currently only 9th in the times. And Lawrence Leclerc, Stefan Denoel, Reese Barr, Lorenzo Ferrari and Miguel Ramos have all yet to do a lap time. Ramos having his first weekend this year in the Sprint Cup. Remember, he was quite poorly at the start of the year, so missed the Sprint Cup rounds, but good to have him on track this weekend. This is Consul Lapalainen now. He's down to 5th in the times.
Well, he's going to get another lap here, come across start line. There's now under a minute remaining, so he'll get across the start-finish line. Dries van Thor, you can see on screen, is an out lap. First sector not great, maybe traffic. Second sector nails it, gets purple, fastest overall. And personal best, so Dries van Thor is up to 30, demotes Tom Fleming down to 4th. So Consul Lapalainen in the number 14. Emil Frey Racing Ferrari, he goes up to 4th place, and that puts Tom Fleming down one more position. So Ferrari's best right now are Lapalainen and Fleming in 4th and 5th.
Indeed, so they were the two gun Ferraris of yesterday. The Altway Vermeulen car, Giacomo Altway, the other Emil Frey entry, is only 17th. And Mathieu Drudy, by the way, is there, 6th fastest, the Spa 24-hour winner. And he comes then into the stadium. There's lots of dust settling because we've had Audis running wide at 12. We've had cars kicking up the dust on the exit of 17. So at the moment, there's this sort of haze in the air. But Mathieu Drudy in 007, the favoured works number, coming up towards the end of a lap. See whether he can respond here. Good in sector 1, as you can see, down in sector 2. And 007 takes the checkered flag and is 6th at the end of the session. So Drudy did improve at the end, a 37.9. Now, Riccardo Fella, on his last lap, has done an absolute best in the first sector. So Fella is already the fastest by 0.06 of a second, that's all. But assuming there's no traffic in the way, this could be a decent final lap just to cement pole position as you look there at number 6 of Luca Engschler, who's done 2 personal bests.
So it's going to be a battle for pole position between this car, the Lamborghini Liquimoli, and traffic has moved aside. I mean, that will have cost him a little bit of time, but it might allow him to consolidate his front row grid position, and Ricardo Feller still waiting to see him coming through the second sector. Feller, you can see, well, the times momentarily appeared. It goes quickest. Enslinger's gone quickest. That great middle sector and final sector, good enough to elevate him up to pole position.
Yeah, despite finding Jonathan Huit's Ferrari, the Sky Tempesta entry in the way, I think Feller has backed out of it. So Ricardo Feller possibly hit traffic as well. So Luca Engschler by 33 thousandths of a second is quickest, and Ricardo Feller bails. So a team that's moved from Audi to Lamborghini quickest, and Audi stalwart team second in the end. But 1 minute 37.415, not quite as good as yesterday, but only fractionally slower. But Luca Engschler is on pole. Now, as far as the Ricardo Feller Audi is concerned, that's still a pole within its class, because that's in the overall category, whereas gold for Engschler and Max Hofer, who will take over for stint 2, gives us a class point there for pole position in gold, and it's a delighted team. Look, there's Franz Engschler, Luca's father involved in all the celebrations. Brilliant job done, and Luca Engschler, who made a name for himself initially winning TCR touring car titles, now very much a GT gun, and underlining exactly why.
A very impressive performance. There's a change from the Audi to running the Lamborghini in this series. They run it in DTM, of course. But that's a family effort. You can see the joy amongst the entire team. And Max Hofer, amongst the team members, he's not in team gear. He's still in his civvies. But a great joy within the team's pits. And didn't really anticipate that coming. But that superb final sector from Engschler to put the Lamborghini onto pole position. Well, that has brought the joy to the entire team.
Good effort by Dries Van Voort. Disappointing effort in the end. 23rd, Sam de Haan, after the car was pretty decent in the race yesterday. You might have anticipated more. And Darren Lung for Century in the Bronze Cup BMW, only 30th. So gold topped by Luca Engschler. Overall class, or pro if you prefer, topped by Ricardo Feller. Silver pole, Tom Fleming. And bronze by Miguel Ramos. Let's have a look at the full order then. Luca Engschler's pole position lap, 33 thousandths quicker than Ricardo Feller. Dries Van Voort third from Consta Lapalainen. And then fifth to top silver, Tom Fleming. Mattia Drudi sixth from Tom Gamble and Ivan Klimenko. Patrick Niederhauser's Porsche 9th. Romaro Engel, yesterday's race winner, 10th. Ezekiel Perez Compact, who retired yesterday, 11th from Maxi Götz, Paul Everard, and the bronze pole winner, Miguel Ramos. Then Aurelien Panis from Reese Bar and Giacomo Altue. Lorenzo Ferrari was ahead of Lucas Legere, and 20th was Jeff Nachiels. '21st in the times, Mathis Lismont from Jonathan Hui, and then Sam de Haan. Dustin Blattner 24th in the second Retronic Porsche. Dimitri Gavatsova next from Rob Collard and Andrei Milkovos. Pavan Rafan Umbrescu 28th. Then Gabriel Rindoni, Darren Lung, Stefan Denour and Laurence Lequetier. As there, winning the Rover Pole Position Award is the Luca Engschler driven Lamborghini, and he will be a very happy man indeed. Not only an extra point in the championship, but also the award for the Rover Pole Position as well. And we might well be able to hear from Luca Engschler in due course. He is out of the car, but they're walking back. Ricardo Feller in the white overalls, Dries Van Voort next to him. Reflecting on the fact that it's going to be a close battle in the early stages, which we will look forward to. But Luca Engschler then, after winning gold in the race yesterday, takes pole position for today's race. And it's certainly been a shrewd move, it would appear, to move from the Audi to the Lamborghini that the team operates within DTM. So fastest time of the session. There is the car with the very happy driver with helmet and Rover Pole Position Award presented. So Luca Engschler hands his crash helmet to the team. And I think all being well, we'll be able to hear from him in a moment. Antonio Rankin is down there, and a very happy Luca Engschler on pole.
Luca, it's turning into a brilliant weekend for German athletes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a good lap.
Yeah, I mean, you had 10 minutes to set it. Why did you keep us hanging till the last one?
I mean, we've been on strategy to go 2 laps in the first run and 1 in the last, and yeah, strategy was nice, pit stop was great. It was a good lap, car is brilliant, so yeah, can't be better right now.
I mean, where did it come from? Because we just haven't seen that from you recently.
Yeah, I mean, we had a difficult first 2 races here. Obviously, DTM was running very good, so yeah, we were sitting together and saying, wow, what can we do to be competitive here as well? And yeah, there we got a massive help from Lamborghini and from Gottfried Grasser and his team providing me the car. And yeah, we're very grateful. And it's a good team. I think it's growing something good together here. So I hope we'll have a bright future.
I mean, this Lamborghini seems like it's really, really gelling with you and your style. It obviously was the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, in Germany we say it's easy to play lotto on a Monday. Obviously we didn't know in advance if that was working out like this, but we hoped and we worked hard. So yeah, big thanks to the team.
Huge congratulations, thank you.
Thank you.
So Luca Engschler, familiar with the car, as he says, he races it in the DTM, but this the Pucker GT3 version. The DTM car's slightly like a variant of GT3 regulations, and with the help of Gottfried Grasser's team, stalwart Lamborghini operation, all those lessons being put into good use. And we saw how well he was doing in the race yesterday, so it's been another good effort this morning in qualifying, but very impressive job.
Yes, the car looks, I think, really good. I pointed that out yesterday. I thought the Lamborghini it rode the curbs well. Unfortunately, the nature of the circuit, you have to be a little bit aggressive with the exit of corners.
So quick look at the highlights of that qualifying session then. It was short and sharp and dramatic as we were predicting, and it had the number 96 Porsche in the hands of Patrick Niederhauser as one of the early cars to look rapid. Miguel Ramos ultimately took pole position in bronze and was 14th overall. Miguel Ramos returning to Sprint Cup, fourth fastest Concept Apolainen in a car that ran well in the leading group in the race yesterday, so continuing that good pace. Third fastest though was Dries Van Voor, and this was the silver pole position car, 71 Ferrari. Tom Fleming doing driving duties this morning, and silver pole fifth for Fleming. Third then, a car that was 19th on the grid yesterday but finished second, Dries Van Voor doing the qualifying time this morning. Ricardo Feller was top but ultimately was forced down to second by a flying Luca Engschler, who takes a first outright pole in Sprint Cup.